Hey everybody, I'm Deborah Richmond, and today we're going to be talking about the block behind me. This is a flower basket block that is part of the Craftsy 2013 Block of the Month free video classes. Now, if you haven't looked at these classes yet, you should take a look. They are all very good. I'm very impressed with the quality of the videos of all of the Craftsy classes, and this is a nice one to start with to give it a try. So this particular block involves some piecing and some applique. A very good block for beginners because it is going to show you some nice instructions, a couple of different ways to do applique. If you've never done any, this is a great block to get started. So let's start with the construction of the basket itself. So the first thing that you're going to be doing is you're going to be choosing the fabrics for the basket, and it's sewn in strips. Very simple piecing here. Then you're going to be, you're given the cutting instructions for the sides. You're going to be placing and sewing these particular pieces down, which now you can see creates the bottom of the basket. Once that is sewn and then trimmed, you're ready to go. The next piece is then the basket handle. The way that you construct the handle, let me put our background down here. There's a couple products involved in this, and then I've got some information for you on those products, and they do make this process go much more smoothly. So here's the basket handle that I'm going to be putting on, and this at the bottom will be cut off, of course, but here's you can see the handle right there. So the way that this is done is to use a template. Now there's a couple different ways that you can do templates, and the instructor in this video class does show you a couple ways. My favorite that I tried and I love is to use the no melt Mylar template plastic. Now this is a clear plastic, so I know you probably can't see it very well, but the beauty of this template plastic is you can iron it on very hot temperature. It's not going to melt. It's going to be a useful tool. So what I've done is I've cut from this template plastic, I've cut the shape of this handle, and it's inside of this fabric right here. It is in here, because what you do is you start with a straight bias strip of fabric, and then you are going to use a very lightweight starch. Now the starch that I use is Mary Ellen's Best Press. There's a couple of different kinds, but it's a lightweight starch, and you can see I'm almost out. I've got to get some more, but I'll have ordering instructions. I'll have information on where you can get this. I like this better than the old-fashioned starch that I used to use that was real stiff and really industrial that you get at the grocery store, because it's lighter weight. It leaves less residue. And so this is a nice product for quilting and for just starching up our blocks as we're putting them together. All right, so what I do is I spray the starch and I dampen this piece of bias. Then using the plastic, which is still inside of this particular piece, I'm going to lay it down. So pretend I just have the clear plastic itself. I'm going to lay it down, and then I'm going to start laying the bias, bending the bias piece around this plastic. Now you can see that bias, if you've worked with bias before, you know that it is very pliable because it is not on the straight of grain. It gives us some flexibility, which is perfect for curving it around this piece, because believe it or not, it's not that difficult to get this straight piece of fabric around this curved template. So as it's dampened with the starch, you're going to take your iron and you're going to slowly press it all the way around until you have this shape. Now the instructions are very good on showing how exactly to do this. So take the time to look at the video very carefully and then try it yourself. And then it's very easy to then just take that template right out, which I'm going to do right now. And you'll see because of the starch, it will go right back to where I need it. Place it on our background fabric, and then I'm going to hand stitch that down. And she does show you can machine stitch that, you can hand stitch that. I like hand stitching, I prefer hand stitching, so that's what I'm going to use for this particular piece. So then once the handle is on, again we had the bottom of our basket, which we now are going to attach, and you've got your basic basket. Now we're ready for the applique. So the applique, there's two different ways in which she shows how to do the applique, and you can use the template, template materials, this mylar that we used for the handle, or you can also use freezer paper. I actually chose to use freezer paper for the flowers. I've used freezer paper in the past, and so this was a nice refresher for me. And so very simply, the construction of the flowers is you start with the leaves first because they are the layer that is beneath the flower, and you build up from the background. So the leaves start first, then you stitch on by hand the petals, and then you stitch the centers, and you do that for each flower. And it's a nice hand project to take with you. I really like hand applique, and this is not a needle turn applique. They're different. This is a freezer paper method that she shows. I really like that, and for a beginner I think that's fantastic. So again, this is a nice block for a beginner. You're going to have a couple of choices on how you want to try applique, and you're going to have very thorough instructions on the video on how to do it. I'm going to have the information on where you can get the videos for yourself from Craftsy below, and if you have any other questions, you can also find more information on quilting at my website at quiltshownews.com. And thank you for joining me.
And be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can do so here by clicking the subscribe button. That way you'll find out about new videos as they become available.